Hello friends, Mandar here. I am back with another video. Today we are going to talk about EB5 program. It is the permanent resident program for United States through investment. So if you are interested in this topic, watch this video until the end and let's get started. If you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mandar and I make immigration related videos for US and Canada. I'm not an immigration lawyer, but anything that I say on this or on my channel is for information purpose only. For your specific immigration needs, you should hire a competent immigration attorney. EB5 is the most popular investment related permanent residency program, I would say, in the world. It has been around for a while and a lot has changed in the recent years. I had made a video on investor program a few months back, but I thought it was time for update video so that you get the latest information on this program, because a lot has changed in terms of processing time, in terms of investment amounts, so it kind of called for an update. So as I said, EB5 is a permanent residency program through investment that allows a pathway to green card and ultimately citizenship of United States. Now, one of the key things is the investment project that you are going to invest in should become successful, and we are going to talk into more details about it. Now, first and foremost question anybody would ask, what is the investment that is required? So last year, November, they increased the investment amounts from $1 million as a base investment to $1.8 million. If the investment project is in a targeted employment area, then the investment amount drops down to $1 million. It used to be $1 million and $500,000, but now the investment amounts have increased. Now, USCIS also made some minor changes in defining the targeted employment area as well as removal of the conditions. So there are slight differences and we are going to go into the details of those as well. Another thing to note is if you have a priority date from the past for that particular category EB5, you can reuse this priority date just like any other EB category of visa. Now, the biggest change that they have made in terms of identifying a targeted employment area is, in the past it used to be up to the local and state level governments to actually define the targeted employment areas, but now USCIS is going to be involved in determining whether it's a targeted employment area. In the past, targeted employment areas used to be typically rural areas, but now some of the urban areas and city areas are also included in the definition as long as they meet certain percentage of unemployment rate compared to the national average. Now let's look into who is this program for. If you really are wealthy or if you have enough money to invest into the program, that is the first and foremost requirement, obviously. But you would like to ask yourselves few questions before you think about investing into this, investing your time and hard-earned money into this program. So some of the questions that you might want to ask yourself or try to answer for yourself are you going to be investing in this business by yourself, or are you going to do some partnership with somebody else? And between yourself and your partners, do you have sufficient knowledge of the business and how this program will be run? Because that is absolutely critical to be successful in this program. You should have a certain annual income, I would say at least to $200,000 to $300,000 annual income, and you should have at least $1 million in your net worth to actually consider for this program. You should also ask yourself, are you going to invest your own hard-earned money from your own bank, or are you going to finance the money to invest into this program? If you are going to finance, look at the rates. What are the rates that you can get? Is the financing over a period of time until this program is covered? And what are the conditions of the mortgage or the lien that you will have on this financing? What are the pre-termination conditions? Are there any penalties for prepayments? Those are the kind of questions that you will need to answer right upfront before entering into this program. Other things are you going to inherit any amount of money to invest into this program, or are you going to get some money out of gift or something else? This is because you will not only have to explain the immigration officer, you will have to produce a paper trail of all the sources of income that you are going to bring into this investment. And remember, there will also be tax obligations depending on your sources of income and the paper trail that you will be able to demonstrate in bringing this money into this investment. So these are some of the basic questions that you should ask yourself and try to answer them even before considering investing into this program. Now, before we jump into how to find an investor or investment program, there are two key applications that you will need to remember. At a very high level, this is going to be a two-step process. One is going to be your immigrant petition, considering that you have gone through the entire investment process, which we are going to come to in a second. But that is the first part where you actually get your green card. And remember, this green card is going to be conditional green card for 2 years. And the application form for this particular purpose of investment EB5 category is going to be I-526. That is Immigrant Petition by Alien Investor. Now I'll leave the link in the description for this particular form I-526. The filing fee is going to be $3,675, and this does not include any lawyer fees or any investment. This is pure filing fee for USCIS. And then the second major step at a high level is going to be removal of conditions of your green card. Because you get the initial green card only for 2 years, before the end of 2 years, actually 3 months or 90 days prior to end of your 2 years, you will have to submit a petition for removal of conditions of your green card. This is I-829. This is required to be filed 3 months before the end of 2 years to remove your conditions of your green card. If you are successful in getting the approval for I-829, then you will get your indefinite or 10-year green card, which is unconditional green card. Now let's talk about how do you research an investor. Let's say you went through the initial set of questions that I mentioned previously, and the answer to those are yes, and now you are ready to go into this program. What is the first step? Now the first step would be to find a designated regional center that has projects lined up or the projects that you can invest in. Now there are two types of ways that you can enter into this program. Either you have a business idea which you are going to start a brand new business in the United States, create 10 new jobs, and you will get a green card that way. So you create your own investment proposal for a business, a viable business idea. You actually fill out all the documentation, create a business case, create a business plan, prove the viability of the business, prove that you are going to hire at least 10 employees, 10 full-time employees, and then submit that case to the USCIS. They will review your application for validity, viability, and for the fulfillment of all the conditions to approve your project. If you do it that way, then you have your own project and you will be responsible for the successful implementation of the project until you get a green card. Although this is an option, it might not be for everyone. The more popular option is to invest into a regional center project that is already approved by USCIS. So you become an investor into an existing project, and that way you don't go through all this viability and business documentation that you have to prove to create your own project. Now this is the USCIS website where you can find the investor regional centers. So as you can see, there are approved EB5 immigrant investor regional centers. There are about 673 of them as of December 7th of 2020. So these are the investor centers or regional centers that have already been approved by USCIS. So you can look at it and you can get a list of all the regional center IDs and regional center names and which state they are in. So if you are, say, in one of these states, you can do the search. Say for instance, if you are in Texas, so you can type Texas here, and then you will be able to see all the investment or regional centers in Texas that are already approved by USCIS. Now you can actually go through this list, pick a regional center in the area of interest, and you can actually contact that regional center. Now each of these regional centers that I just mentioned on the website of USCIS will have their own web page and contact information. So what is recommended is you actually contact that regional center, set up an appointment, and go through the questionnaire. I'm going to give you some of the questions that you might want to ask them. You may also want to hire a EB5 immigration lawyer who can represent you in this initial appointment as well. That's optional, but if you do your homework, you can do this appointment by yourself. Some of the questions that you may want to ask them are: what is the project? Is that project approved? Is that project funded? Who are the funding partners? Are they private investors? Are they equity firms, or are they government investors? You might want to ask them. You may also want to ask them how many investors are participating in this program. This will allow you to figure out what is the investment portfolio. What is your percentage of the investment as compared to the total dollar amount of that project? This will give you some information to do some risk assessment. You also want to know the capital structure of this project. How much of that investment is already made, how much of the investment is at risk, and so on. When you make this appointment, you may also get the brochure of the project that will tell you the job creation, financial statements. It may also give you the time frame when you will get back your investment. Now remember, this is a very key information because you are putting your hard-earned $1 million or $1.8 million, depending on where you are investing into this project. You want to get that money back. Your objective is twofold. One, to get a green card, which is permanent residency, and second, to get your investment back. You could also get some interest or return on your investment, but at the least you should get your investment back. You also want to make sure that this project runs for at least 5 years. That is the least amount of time between which your processing will complete and you will get your conditional green card. One of the other things that is important is significant investment has to be already have been made into these projects, because one of the conditions in your green cards is this investment amount has to be at risk. The meaning is, if the visa gets rejected, you are poised to lose your investment. That is what is required. So substantial investment as well as an investment at risk. These are the two key factors that are considered by USCIS. Based on the points that I just mentioned, you should do your due diligence with the help of an EB5 attorney. Sometimes the EB5 attorney is provided by the regional centers. They have their own attorneys who you can hire, or you can have your own personal EB5 attorney who can represent you with these regional centers. Remember, the goal of your EB5 investment is twofold. One is to get the green card, and two is to get your investment back. You always want your initial investment to come back to you with interest or with capital gains, if at all. Now, once you have talked with the regional center, once you have selected the project, once you have made your assessment of your financial situation, once you know how much investment amount that you need to carry, and once you have figured out all your investment sources, and now you are ready to apply for EB5. Now, there are pathways depending on where you are. If you are outside of the United States, then you will need to file something called DS-230 with National Visa Center, and then they will forward your file to the nearest consulate and you will need to get a consular appointment. Now, this processing time may vary and we'll talk about it in a minute, but consular processing is the way to go if you are outside of the United States. If you are within the United States with a valid non-immigrant status, then after your 529 application is approved, you can apply for adjustment of status, which is I-485. This is the final stage of your green card if you are within the United States. Now, the processing time used to be 1 or 2 years few years back, but with the amount of applicants that we have seen recently in EB5 category, the processing time has significantly increased. It is up to 3 to 4 years to process your I-529 application for green card. This is excluding your adjustment of status or consular processing time. So it is a significant amount of time. You want to make sure that your project is viable and is going to run for at least 5 to 6 years so that you can get through this green card application. Now, fortunately for most of the countries, the priority date for this particular visa EB5 is current, except for mainland China and Vietnam, where they have a backlog or retrogression in the priority date. But if you are from any other country other than China and Vietnam, then your priority date is current. But in spite of the priority date being current, the processing time for 529 is still about 3 to 4 years. Now, once you get through the initial processing of 529 and your I-485 or consular processing, you will get a conditional green card. The conditional green card is basically for 2 years, and it gives you an opportunity to go back before the end of 2 years to prove that your project is still viable, it is still making profit, you have at least 10 full-time employees in this project as part of your investment, and so on. So the most important thing is, after you get your conditional green card, you need to file an application to remove these conditions on your green card. If you fail to file this petition before 2 years are complete, you might lose your green card. Now, there are certain things that you will need to keep in mind so that your application doesn't get denied. You haven't committed fraud within this time period. You haven't been out of the United States for a significant amount of time. You have filed your income tax on time. You have declared as non-immigrant on your income tax. And you have followed all the conditions that are required to be met. So once you have met all these conditions, then you will get your green card, you will get your permanent green card and have your conditions removed. So these were some of the things that I wanted to mention about the EB5 investor program, which has become a very popular program in the recent years. So I hope you got some value out of this video. If you have any additional questions in particular about this program, please leave them in the comment section or send me an email or follow me on Instagram at connectmandar. And I'll see you in the next one.